Hi there, everyone. Linda from Let's Talk Prepping. And I wanted to talk to you about bugging out and taking into account all the different scenarios because it's going to make a difference on how you bug out depending upon what happens. I'm talking about, bugging out during a nuclear attack, bugging out during a lockdown or martial law, bugging out bugging out during riots and civil unrest, or during an EMP. So all of these things can mean different ways that you have to bug out, and you should have your plan in advance. So if we have a nuclear bomb, it's really going to depend upon how close you are to it. If you're very close to it, you might have to stay inside for 3 days or a week until all the radiation dissipates and you can go out. If you're going to be going to another bug out location and the wind is blowing and blowing the radiation towards you, you're going to have to know that. So you're going to have to check the wind, how far the radiation can travel, 60 miles maybe. You're just going to have to really take all of that into account. And now is the time to go and study it. There is a place online where you can go to a map and put in your state or your city and what kind of bomb is hit, and then it'll tell you how far the radiation will spread and everything like that. So you might want to check that out. You might want to look and see what the prevailing winds are in your area so that you know what is going to happen if a nuclear bomb goes off near you or even a ways away, but the wind is blowing the radiation in your direction. Another scenario might be martial law. If we have martial law, there's going to be armed troops guarding the city or wherever it happens to be. And if you have martial law, you're probably going to have to worry about things being confiscated, guns, food, water, medical supplies, things like that. So you've either got to decide you're going to stay and defend your position or you're going to bug out. Now, the thing is, how are you going to bug out if there's martial law? You're definitely going to have to stay off the main roads because you're not going to be able to use them. They're going to be guarded. And bridges will be guarded too. So you're going to have to know another way instead of over that bridge. You're going to have to know where you're going to cross the river and how you're going to get across it if that bridge happens to be guarded. Now, maybe if there's martial law, they're still letting you move around to go to work, go to get food and things like that. If that's the case, you might be able to move around at certain hours of the day and get out of the city or wherever it is. But if you're doing that and you have to go through checkpoints, make sure you're not carrying anything they consider contraband because you would be stopped. So for martial law, you're going to have to figure out where maybe the armed guards aren't, through backyards, through alleys, places like that. How are you going to get around it? Maybe you have to wind back and forth through alleys and ditches and residential streets. Train tracks might be the way to go, country roads and so forth. Now, another scenario you should take into account is rioting and civil unrest. What are you going to do if there are riots? Well, you don't want to go anywhere near a riot. And if they're looting stores, you don't want to be anywhere near the stores that they're looting. But if you're trying to bug out, you've got to have alternate routes so that you can bug out. You've got to know how to get around the rioters and the looting. On the main roads, they're going to close down the highways if they can, definitely close down bridges if they can. So have an alternate plan, an alternate way to get out. And of course, the key is always to get out before the civil unrest begins, or at least before it spreads. A currency collapse, you're going to have trouble finding gas. So how far away is your bug out location. Can you do it on one tank of gas? If you can't do it on one tank of gas, is there a way to store some gas in your vehicle so that you don't have to stop at the gas stations? Because if there's a nuclear bomb, you know people are going to just abandon what they're working, and they're going to go and protect their family. So you probably won't have gas stations open then. If there's civil unrest and you have to go by these looters and rioters, you're not going to be able to get to the gas station. And again, if there's a currency collapse, gas stations won't be taking dollar bills, so what are you going to do? So make sure you know how far away your bug out location is and what you're going to do for gas. And then if there's an EMP attack, you're going to have to bug out on foot or by bicycle. And people are going to be stranded on the major highways, and there's just no way you should be following the major highways. Just going to be too many people there. And even the back roads are going to be people there. And you know, if you're on a bicycle and you're trying to travel through and people are saying, I've been walking all this distance, you know they're going to try to stop you somehow, steal your bicycle if they can. So you're going to have to make plans like that. Maybe if it's wintertime, the snowmobiles, the older ones, will work, and then you can go across on the snow in the woods and places like that. So you've got to make plans. So when you're bugging out, you want to have a call to action for each scenario. When are you going to bug out? You don't want to wait till it's too late. You want to go as soon as you can and as soon as you know there's a problem. You want to identify your trigger and go, and don't put it off, and don't hesitate. You've got to know what route you're going to take. You've got to know how you're going to get around in all of these scenarios. How are you going to get out of where you are to your location? How will you cross the bridges, as I mentioned before? If you can't get across the bridge, how are you going to get across the river? Where are you going to cross it, and what are you going to use to cross it? Can you bug out to more than one location? Because sometimes getting to your one location is going to be impossible. So you need multiple routes. You might have to go in the opposite direction of where your bug out location is. So you're going to have to plan how to get around if you're going in the opposite direction, how to circle back. It might be weather dependent on whether you can get in that direction or not. You should have paper maps and grids of the city. You should prepare for both car and walking and maybe a bicycle. Maybe use the railroad tracks. Maybe most people won't think about that. Don't go on the electric ones if the electric is still working. How about a compass? You probably could use a compass. Are you going to put supply caches all along the way or not? So you've got to have backup plans for all of these scenarios so that when you bug out, you can get to your bug out location safely. So please leave a comment down below if you have any other tips or ideas for bugging out. Let us know how you're going to bug out, if you've made plans for all of these different scenarios. And then please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And thanks for watching.